let's get real. Welcome to TBC Today. This podcast features friends in and around the Triad Baptist Church community. Hear encouraging real-life stories from our weekly guests and inspiring insights from our host, Pastor Rob. To learn more about Triad Baptist Church in Kernersville, North Carolina, visit us online at tbcnow.org.
Here we are again, ready for another episode of TBC Today. Now, this is a special bonus episode, so this is not a part of our regular season, but we thought this would be a great time to talk about Christmas because Christmas is just right around the corner. Our guest today is Heather Still. Heather's been at Triad Baptist for over 15 years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And she runs with the Chandlers a ministry called Loving the Least. And so that's a great ministry here. It's about foster care and adoption. So Heather is a parent of adopted children, and we talked to them on one of our previous episodes. And we've been friends for 35 years, which is hard to believe since we're only 32. So,
True story.
Anyway, we got Pastor Rob here. We're going to talk about Christmas. We're going to talk about our upcoming Christmas production, and we're going to talk about whatever Pastor Rob wants to talk about because
And we're not scared at all.
yeah, because he likes to get real. So, Pastor Rob,
let's get real. And it's time. The timer of clock, the sands of time are running
we're
out.
flipping the clock.
Heather, it's great to have you today. We're so
you.
glad to be here with you today. It's you can feel kind of Christmas in the air. I know
Yes.
people are already listening to Christmas songs in their rooms, in their offices, and everybody loves to do that. Can you guess who would be doing that? You can hear it every time you call him on the phone. But he loves it, man. He doesn't wait at all. So I thought we'd get a little of the festive season here, and I brought my own little. Actually, I don't know why this is all messed up, but oh, there we go. Okay.
So if you're listening at
this from
home,
my wife.
you want to check this out on our YouTube channel so you can see Pastor Rob and his jingle bells.
I just want to ask everybody out there, I've been thinking about this all night. Do you believe? Do you believe? I believe.
love it.
Do you believe you can have that? I'll
That's
let you have
awesome.
it.
I love
I have
it.
to take it back to my wife, though. So.
Okay.
All right. But anyways, it is exciting as we get close to Christmas here. We're just a few days away, and we just are excited about our play coming up. And tell me a little bit about this, because you two have been doing plays a lot together. How long have you been involved in plays like this?
Oh my goodness, most of my life. I think we did our first one in high school.
We were
Together,
I think we were
probably-
in ninth grade.
Yeah.
Was it
and
a Christmas play?
It was an Easter play.
Yeah, it was an Easter
play.
drama that we did together.
Okay. And what about your first Christmas play? Do you remember that? Or was it
time?
here? Was it here?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the first Christmas play. It was prior to coming to Triad. I think it was still in high school that we did that.
We did a play called In Mary's Eyes that we had written with Wendy Fulp and Jamie Hicks. And I believe that one was for Christmas at
Yeah.
Gospelite. But then when we came here, the first play we did together was One Accord. One Accord,
That's
which was
right, I
a high
remember
school
that,
play
yeah.
I'd written.
And then
And
kinda
you really
changed
liked it.
I
We
did, yeah.
we turned it into a Christmas show, and that was the first one we did here.
Yeah. He's so much better at the details. I'm like, oh, all the wonderful
That's
times we've had, and then he
unbelievable.
pulls in
So,
all
yeah.
of the.
That's unbelievable. You can remember all that.
I
But
know.
tell us a little bit about that. Like, if you guys always work together, or is it just something that happened?
We have always sort of worked together on
Yeah.
creative projects. I met Heather in fourth grade when we moved here from Louisville.
He wasn't
And
a big fan at the time.
I was, yeah,
Of
she
you?
was,
Yeah.
she was kind of high pitched and annoying.
I mean, I wasn't the only one with issues.
But we did become good friends, and through elementary, and then they moved around a lot. Her family moved around a lot, so they would be in North Carolina for 6 months or a year, and then they'd be gone again. But we were putting together an Easter play with her aunt Jamie and Wendy, and Jamie told me Heather and her family are moving back in town, and she would love to be involved, and that would be great. And so that's probably when we really started. At about ninth grade is when we probably really started.
Wow, that's incredible.
Working on those projects.
And it was a neat opportunity because even at such a young age, they really gave us a lot of creative power. So we were in the production from beginning to end. We were part of the writing. They allowed us to really put input into the the script and the characters, and then through production, it's the set and the setup, and then practices in music. It was really every aspect. And
Was that something that kind of was always your love, even as, can you go back to fourth grade and say, I loved it even back then?
Oh, yeah. I've always been more creative, so to be able to pour that energy into that, especially in a ministry.
Yeah.
She's always been very dramatic.
Now, when you were
too.
growing up, did you what'd you say?
She's always been very dramatic. I had to get that dig in.
But did you do little plays at your home and stuff for the family?
Oh, yes. Oh, my dad used to dress us up like the Von Trapps and send us around to different nursing homes and family reunions to sing and dance and do all of the things. So I've had a microphone in my face most of my life.
That's incredible. And you're just a natural. You just love it.
I do. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I still get nervous every single opportunity. If there's ever a microphone, the nerves always kick in. But I think that fuels my passion.
Yeah. Okay, well, tell us a little bit about this play. What are we doing here this year, just in a few days here? What's going to be the theme of it and the idea behind it?
So Christmas at the Inn, Jeremy is the creative genius behind the actual script, but we actually got the inspiration from you. And so we would love to hear kind of where that began. I actually have really enjoyed the collaboration on this one because it's a different approach for us. This is not like it's not what we normally do from beginning to end.
So past plays, a lot of times I'll have some kind of a story idea. And then I get with Heather and Cheryl, because Cheryl does our costumes, and we start talking about what's the reality of that story and who would be involved in it. And then the big piece of that is the music. So then that always goes to Heather. Like, you come up with some good songs, I'll come up with some songs, and then we sort of figure out, okay, what can we work, what can we do, what can we afford the royalties on, where can we get the soundtracks or whatever. So that's a big piece of writing the story. And then I'll write the script. And then it goes back to them for them to go through and say, we like this, we don't like this, and we collaborate again on that. This time around, you and I met for lunch last December, and you said, hey, I've got an idea. I want to do a sermon. What do you think about turning this into a play? And so I had a little bit of an idea for a play for this year, and so I figured out how to sort of incorporate both. But then, I wrote the play without the music. So once we wrote it, we started doing things backwards. Once we wrote it, then it went back to Heather, like, okay, now we've got to pick out music and insert it in, as opposed to writing around songs.
Out of curiosity, when you go out of town and do this, like you like to do that.
I do sometimes, yeah. I do
up
like
to the
do
Smoky
that.
Mountains, typically. And so when you go out of town like that, do you stare out a window with coffee and then you just start writing? How do you do that?
No, a lot of times I'll start out at the creek. There's a creek that's very special to my family in Gatlinburg, and a lot of times I'll sit there and I'll start writing. I like to, if I'm out of town, I like to go to a fire pit. So there's a at the Dreammore Resort in Pigeon Forge. Even if I'm not staying there, I'll go there and sit at the fire pit, and then that's normally where I have my laptop and I just start trying to write stuff.
And did you already have it in your head, or it comes to you as you're sitting there?
Both.
Really?
And then what I'll do a lot of times is when I go back home, I'll make note cards with everybody that we want to be in the cast, everybody's name on a note card, and then a note card with all the scenes on it, and then a note card with lines that I really like, and then it's like a puzzle. I start laying it out on the table like that to make sure I get everything in and try to balance it out.
That's cool. That's cool.
So that's
one thing I
kinda-
like about your plays, and too, your actors, they get in script.
Amazing.
Oh,
And
we
they
have an
they
incredible
become the
cast.
person, and
Yes.
it's more real. It's not like scripted. It's almost like it's just a real person.
They are so talented. And one of the things that's such an honor for me, because music is my niche. Basically, my entire life runs on a soundtrack in my head. So to be able to sit down and see the words that he's put together on paper and to have this music that just fills in all of the blanks of that so beautifully. But then to see what the two of us have come up with played out in the incredible talent of the cast. Because it never fails. Whatever we see it becoming, they make it better. And they bring their own flair and creativity and talent to the script. And it literally comes from paper to stage and comes to life right in front of us. And that's the exciting part.
Yeah, that is cool, because I can think of a couple guys. You had the, who were the guys?
Hustle and Bustle.
Hustle and Bustle. I mean, you always have
Yes.
these characters that just kind of bring out the whole thing. You can't wait till they come on stage and you
Yeah.
have a little humor and then get back to the serious side.
Yes.
And then when you get to the serious side, it's like it flows better for you in your own mind. At least when I've watched them,
Yeah.
I've found that really cool.
Yeah.
So that's neat.
Yeah, our actors are amazing, and they really make the script that I come up with a lot better. so if you just read the script, it looks a lot better on stage.
Do you
because
go
of
off
them.
script much?
Oh, yes.
Do you?
Well, I think everybody does, because even during rehearsals, we'll be at our very last rehearsal, dress rehearsal, and somebody will say, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we did this? And we're adding stuff in all the way up to the minute.
Or you can watch them rehearse something 5 or 6 times, and then it just hits you like, that's just not even funny. Like, it sounded funny when I wrote it. It's just not. Let's cut it, because or they'll say, can I add this word to it, or can I throw this in?
Or do I have to say that? Could I say this instead? Or
And is it one thing in acting, though, where you do have to exaggerate your part, or can you just be right on and that's good enough?
Well, I think it speaks to the grace of the writer, because he always enjoys seeing everyone's ownership of what they're doing, so he allows that creative liberty. A lot of writers or directors would say, no, you stick to the script. I spent a lot of time on that. That's the way I wanted it. And he's never done that. He's always given grace and said, if this is your character, I want you to own this and become this and do this, and you be proud of it. So he always allows that
And
liberty.
you have to remember that these are all volunteers. Our church is amazing with volunteers. All these people work from September through the 1st of December with no pay, really no benefits other than they want to serve the Lord. They want to use their talents for God. And so it's very much just a team project. I mean, if the actors said we don't want to do a play this year, we wouldn't force it. We just wouldn't do it. We would just say okay, because the two of us can't do it.
Let's talk a
can't
little
do
bit
all the
about the
parts.
theme. Let's do the little theme.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know how much you guys want to say about that, but I know the title of it is Christmas in the Inn, and here's one of their little postcards on it, but it's kind of exciting. December 3rd to the 5th in 2021, and so it'll be each night on those, and so you can see a little information about that. You can get that on our website as well. But let's talk a little bit about this, the Christmas at the Inn. When I was thinking about kind of the sermons I had in my mind, I went back to 2016 in my mind, and I was sitting there one day and I was thinking about that. I thought, what if you took Jesus out of the center of the Christmas scene, and you got the shepherds and Mary and Joseph and the angels and all that. What if you took Jesus out of the center and you tried to replace it with something else? And that was my thought back in 2016, because that was Christmas Day that day for that Sunday. And I thought, if you take Jesus out and you put the shepherd in its place, you really have missed the whole point. But a lot of people do that with their life. Mm-hmm. And I tried to make each of those characters represent something like, okay, the wise man would be money and gold. And so if you take that and you put that in place of Jesus, then you've missed the whole point. And a lot of people will have money to celebrate Christmas, and a lot of people make that their God. And so that was kind of my thinking in the beginning. And then I took it with you and I said, hey, what could you do with that? Because I think I have a new twist I want to make at my next sermon in December, the first Sunday in December. And so you guys tell me a little bit more now how that developed for you.
Well, that started with the lunch where you told me that. And I thought, man, that is a great idea. I remember that sermon, and it was very visual. You used some props, and I remembered that, and I thought, that is a great idea. I had just this little idea in my head to write a story about a costume lady for a show, kind of inspired by Cheryl, and where she was going through costumes and had all these memories of Christmas past. So that was about as far as I got with that story. So then I thought, how can I pull the two of them together? And what I thought would be a fun tribute to our cast and crew would be to write a show about actors trying to do a Christmas nativity. And so the whole catch is, during the entire show, they're trying to prepare for their finale scene of their show, and the baby Jesus is missing. So they've got wise men, they've got shepherds, and they've got Mary and Joseph. And so each actor's personality reveals kind of their true nature. Like, well, we don't need Jesus. We have the wise men. We have riches and fame, and that's all that's important. Or one would say, we don't need the shepherds because we've got this and that and whatever. So let's replace Jesus with the shepherds, or let's replace Jesus with Mary and Joseph because they were the original, family in the New Testament or whatever. And so there's things like that come out until finally toward the end, the director of the play, kind of pulls everybody together and says, you really can't have Christmas without Jesus. And then I don't want to give everything away, but then everybody sort of pulls into perspective that a lot of times we celebrate the wrong things during Christmas. Like, it's fun to listen to the music. It's fun to shop. It's fun to watch the old Christmas movies. But sometimes we miss celebrating or putting the most of our energy into the reason we have Christmas, Jesus.
That's good.
Which came from you. So that idea came from you, and so that's how we did it.
Well, one thing, do you want to say something?
Well, I was going to say, this play is also very different in that we all kind of feel exposed.
Yeah, true.
Throughout, even the read-through that we did in the very beginning, it was so funny because it's about a cast preparing for a play, which is what we do. We have done together for years, all of us. Even the cast we currently have, we've been together for years. So as they're reading through the script, they kept cracking up because they were like, "You wrote that about me."
It was easy to write because
you actually saw people in your mind.
Because I could see, these different actors and these different people.
Yeah.
Or I would remember things
and
they
they
would
said,
say.
They're like, "Oh, wait a minute, I kind of feel exposed."
Yeah.
Or the director in the play would say what he says to the cast, and he says that to them all the time. And they're like, "Oh my goodness." So they all kind of feel like
clever.
we're being told on while we're playing it out.
So it's really
stage.
you guys up there actually in your personalities.
Yes, which is what makes it so funny. We've had the most fun during these practices because everybody's literally cracking up at themselves or laughing at the character of someone they know he's talking about. Throughout the whole time together. It's a lot of fun.
Did you have everybody there or just the key ones?
No, we had everyone there for the read-through.
Like, how many are you talking?
Well, we invite the tech team. We invite anyone who wants to come. Not all of them will come, but all the actors are there. I mean, we probably had 30.
30. I'm just surprised that would even go well because everybody would want to throw jokes out or say things.
We're just so used to working together that I think it's more of a well-oiled machine. I would even go as to say, just a little inside tip. 2 years ago, I guess, I came to Jeremy with a song. Because, that's typically we start with music. So I came to him and I said, "I've got our song. This is incredible. You've got to hear this. I heard it riding down the road." This was July when I started listening to Christmas music. And he said, "It's beautiful. Let's do it." Well, the entire play, we kept trying to plug that song in.
I'm writing this play a couple years ago trying to get this song called Hallelujah in because it's beautiful and it's about Jesus and the Nativity. And
it's all about Jesus.
Could not get it. So then we just said, okay, we're going to put it on the soundtrack for everyone to learn, and we'll work it in.
Somewhere. And we never did.
We couldn't work it in.
And then this year we sit down with the script, and he said, "Okay, here's the words. Put music into it. Here's what we got. Here's the script." That song was the finale song for this year.
It just fit in this year. It was crazy.
Fit, and it was perfect. And we sat and we talked about it. It was just incredible that it had been waiting for this script the whole time, but everybody's already familiar with it.
Was it an unknown song or
not
is
as
it
popular? It's an older one.
Is
brought
it?
Back.
Okay.
Well, then we sit down and we need at the curtain call, everybody, the speaker speaks, and then we come back, right? And we had nothing. Literally nothing. At the read-through, we had the entire script, all of the music printed out, all the characters written in, everybody's cast.
And the way the play ends, it ends on that message of Jesus. So then when you or Jason or Dennis or whoever comes up to speak at the end, then how do you go back and be funny? Because we
you can't.
It's so big and so
I didn't have
Jesus.
anything. I had nothing.
So just
None of
celebrate.
us.
It's just a celebration then of Jesus.
Yeah, so after our read-through, we are in motion here without that refrain.
That little tail end.
And so Kat comes up to us, and she was like, do you know what you're going to do? Is it a surprise? You're just not telling us? And we're like, "No, we got nothing." And she said, "I think I know what we can do." And we all gather in this little huddle, and she tells us.
And it would give you chills, but we're not going to tell it.
We're not going to
once
tell
you come and see it.
But it's that good. And it was exactly what that moment needed. And we just waited for it, and God brought it. And that's the collaboration that happens every time we do this. It's just incredible to see God put the pieces together.
That's the gelling of personalities and the gelling of coming together.
And ability and availability.
And I think also it's about, everybody's motive is about this is for God. This is not for us. We all know we're not going to get famous off of anything. We're not going to make any money off of anything. I think everyone really genuinely has that spirit of, I just want to serve the Lord and I want to use my talents for God. And they're not afraid to bring ideas to the table. They're not afraid of working with us or insulting us either with, I don't like this song or I don't like whatever. They'll come and talk to us about it. So that's the great camaraderie you have, because,
That's cool.
You've got prides aside on this,
Yeah.
I think, for the most part.
For a greater purpose.
I just I want to go off script a little here, backstage off script then on that, because I was thinking, you two probably have created that gel, and I'm sure personalities connect with you too. But what is it about you two that there's like a connection gel there that I don't even understand myself? Help me understand that
It's
a little
a
bit.
phenomenon we ourselves have never been able to
Yeah,
figure out.
It's very weird.
I think when I look back, probably one of the funniest moments, most humiliating moments of a play. I don't even know if you will remember this one. So the two of us have always worked so well together, no matter what. It's that we're alike in areas that make us work, and then we're opposite in areas that make us work. So we also have history. We have a lot of forgiveness and a lot of grace and understanding in our history that we bring to
Well, when
projects.
you say that, the thing I'm thinking to myself, how did you get through that? Like, a lot of people just end up parting ways, especially a guy and a gal. You just go different ways. How did you? What was inside of you that would say, I still want to work at this relationship?
Honestly, I believe God knew that we would need each other one day, and I believe He put that in us earlier in
Through the
our
young teen
lives.
years.
Yeah, that He knew that right now. Our kids would need Him. We would need each other. Our families would need each other. And I believe He created.
And we've been through, a lot of sad, stressful situations, really our entire lives. And
Yeah.
we've just always been able to go to each other, I think, for prayer and comfort. And our families have been close and connected. And even in a weird way, sometimes I can't communicate what is in my brain. I'll have a big idea and I cannot get it out verbally to explain to people. But Heather has always been able to sort of get in my head and say, here's what he wants, or here's what he means. And I mean, that's been when I taught, and I would do a homecoming. Heather would always come over that night and put the flowers together and the tiara together and get stuff together, because she would know how I wanted it. I just didn't know how to do it, and same thing with projects with them or different. So it hasn't always been plays, but it's just, we've always been right there for each other. And
That's amazing. I just think of the time invested for that. Like, I mean, it's not like you're not busy. You got you got kids and adopted kids and everything. And I'm just thinking, like, when you went over that night, weren't you already busy?
Yes.
When you went over and did all that flowers arrangement for him?
Oh my goodness, yes. But I think that's another thing we understand about each other is we both are. We both are involved in a lot of things, but I think prioritizing each other.
Well, it's about people and it's about friendship. I read a book years ago by Adrian Rogers where one chapter was devoted to, you should have a core of 5 friends and no more in your life as an adult. And that spoke to me. I talk about this a lot with my own friends, was having a circle and a tight circle of people that I can be really honest, really transparent with, that I can go to over the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I kind of created that circle in my life, and fortunately for a good decade, I think I've had those 5 right there in place, and they've stayed there with me. Heather's been there since 4th grade, since we moved here. She's been, so I think that's important, is to have that, that core circle of influence, people who are influences on me and people that I can be influenced on. But really, when you get into that daily grind, because we're in spiritual warfare, we're constantly fighting Satan and all these things that he throws in us. So, we've got a little, I've got a little army. I mean, I got a little army that I can count on right now, that I can call and say, I need a prayer right now, or I need to talk to you, or I'm struggling with this, or I feel temptation. Help me, And so I think that's really important to have in your life. And that's just where Heather has been. And even when Scott and Heather got married like 25 years ago or whatever, Scott just became such a spiritual influence on me as well. Like, I remember when they got married thinking, he's like the godliest person, And so it all became a part of,
That's wonderful.
of that. And of course, Cheryl, I sort of like Johnny Manuel, but no, I do like Johnny a lot. But, their families and our families have just been there. I mean, we've been through some really, really
Dark times.
low points in life. And
Like
so
with both going on in the same thing, or something low for you? And she
no,
was
something
just-
low for me, something low for her,
Yeah.
or their family, or my family, where we, it's
lot of
not a
loss,
lot
a lot
to
of grief.
sit for a few of us to sit on the phone till 1 or 2 in the morning and just cry and pray and talk with each other through situations that we're struggling with.
Was there ever a time like you said, it's over, I'm done with this, or you never felt that way?
No, I don't know that I ever felt that way.
Hmm.
It was meant to be. It was supposed to be. Jeremy is a gift that God gave me in my life and gave my family, and his family is a gift to my family and me. And I always saw it as that, and I never wanted to walk away from that. It was too valuable. It was too important. It was too necessary for me and for healing. And I've seen that play out in every single aspect of my life. I don't know how many times I will say to him, for such a time as this, this is why God gave you to me. This is why God gave you to my boys. This is why God gave you to Scott, our families, this for such a time as this. And I've seen that play out way too many times to walk
That's
away.
incredible. One thing I noticed about you is just you work so hard at relationships and making them valuable. And I see that. It's, with Jeremy, but even just in your life, I mean, you are a high-strung girl. I mean, you're going for, probably you collapse when
It's
you
an
go to bed.
understatement.
When you go to bed, you're probably out like that. But
Or I just don't go to bed.
because you're still wired. I can see that. But
Yeah.
but just that's an amazing. I don't know if you developed it or if it just was you. It's hard to say, but like you just seem to really be invested in people.
I grew up everywhere. Everybody always asks, where are you from? And I always say everywhere, all over the place. There isn't a place that I'm from. I grew up when my dad was in retail. So we went where the job promotion was or where the company transfer took us. And we also traveled a lot, even in between moves. So I was kind of a girl without a country. And I saw a lot of loss during that time period. I would make friends and then lose them, then make friends and lose them. And I think the hardest loss for me was a 6th grade move halfway through the year, which middle school's brutal anyway. And up until that point, I was a kid, moving was a new adventure, and my mom and dad always made it as such. But I think that one was really hard, and looking back, I know one of the reasons is because I had to leave Jeremy. I had found a person, and
6th grade. So you moved from here.
when we moved in that middle school year, he had come in 4th grade, and we had 2 years together, and we had moved, and that loss was really hard for me, my age, but also I had found what I'd been looking for, which was relationship and importance and value in a person, a forever person. And I think that made me, I wanted that so bad that it made me seek that. So we moved from here to Florida, and I found a person there. And
Quickly, or did it take some time?
it took some time, but I found a person. And it's almost exactly like what he said in your core group. She quickly became a best friend, and to this day, we still are close. We'll travel back and forth. Since 7th grade or 8th grade, when we moved away and moved back, we have stayed close, and we've traveled back and forth to see each other. We then moved again somewhere else. It ended up back here. But I think that's what drives my passion for people. Is I understand the loss that it creates, and I understand the devastation of not having it.
Yeah.
And I see what it looks like to not have that and what it looks like to have that. And it's very important to me. And that's one of the things, and so we've worked at that. I mean, this was a gift God gave. I want to steward well. And I try to be, and because I'm so busy and because I am so scattered, I don't make a very good friend. But I do strive to invest in love and what I have to offer with the people who are most important and valuable that God's given me in my life. And
That's
that would be
amazing.
from friends to my husband,
Yeah.
to my kids, to my...
It's cool, and you don't give up like that. Just listening to you, like I have a lot of friends in my history, but I pretty much gave up, and I might connect every 5 years or every 10 years, but I'm not really, I don't stay connected, but it's like I just keep hearing from you. Like, you'll even stay connected with the girl in Florida. You'll stay connected to Jeremy while you were in Florida.
Yes.
All this kind of, even your adopted children, I think of that, how connected. It's almost like they know intuitively. I could sense it from them. You're not going to give up on us.
Never.
No matter what.
Never.
That's a cool, just a focus of your life. I just think you value people so much that you just stay at it.
I want to steward God's gifts well.
That's cool. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I agree. I think that's very important. I kind of said my thoughts a minute ago about having those close people. We moved here when I was in 4th grade, and I had no family here. And it was just Amanda, my sister, and I, and Mom and Dad. And so there was a real loneliness there. And Amanda and I always wanted to be a part of a big family. Amanda's got a big family now. And so their family sort of became like that big family to us, and it gave us people to spend holidays with and people to spend birthdays with and, people to go on vacation with. And so, I mean, that's a piece of it, but I think the core is having that person in your life that you can talk to when you're really in your lowest or you're at the worst point of your life, having that spiritual guidance, because I think that's where people who don't have that, I think that's where they make the biggest failures in their life. And so,
Or foolish decisions.
Right.
Maybe,
When they're
because they
alone.
just didn't have somebody that's got their back. And even if I don't, it's weird because I think we can sense when something's going on. There are times that she'll call me and say, I feel like there's something going on. I'm praying. Anything you want to talk about? It's weird, and I'll do that to her. Like I'll sense that sometimes that there's a real need there. There's something going on, and so when you've got that family like they do, a big old family,
Yeah. And they kind of took you in, but it was through her.
Yeah.
You two hit the relationship off, and then through that, the whole family's got connected. And your personality too. You're very loyal too.
Yes.
You're very loyal to people in terms of how you handle relationships. So you get into a relationship, you can pretty much expect you're going to be loyal. I think I could actually hurt you, and you'd still be loyal to me. I haven't thought about that, but I was just thinking your loyalty is a very big deal to you, and I can sense that in all your relationships. What can I do for you? How can I help you out? Hey, I don't want this to be a problem between us. That's just a neat thing with you that people know they can relax in that, and it's very restful too.
Absolutely.
So it's kinda
Another
cool.
attribute I believe is truth. If I need truth spoken into my life, I'm going to call Jeremy. And the reason is because he knows me.
Which I love when she calls and asks that. What's something I need to work on in my spiritual life? Oh, I've got a list.
Oh, wait, I've been waiting for this moment. Let me pull it out.
No, I'm kidding.
But the same goes, I don't know how many times I'll see the phone, and neither one of us have a lot of time in a given day.
Yeah.
So, I know if he's calling, it's important. And we're going to, and I don't know how many times we've just been like, truth bomb dropped, question asked, question answered. Okay, we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
And done. And then, might have to do that conversation in segments, but I know there's truth. And
Wow.
I know when I go to him, I'm going to hear truth. And which is what I was going to say earlier about one of our moments in the play. Because we know this about each other. We know that we're going to speak truth to each other, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be there for each other, no matter what. So we'll be doing a play, and I'll have an opinion that's different than his opinion, which happens quite often. And he likes his opinion better at the moment for whatever reason.
True.
And it turns, because we're both dramatic people, it could escalate quickly. And in the earlier years of this cast, it would kind of create a silence among the group where it was almost
Awkward
like
silence.
somebody would pop popcorn and sit and wait to see the outcome of this. And while we're doing our thing and we're speaking truth and working through this and coming to resolution, and one of us would give because okay, yeah, I see from your point of view, or vice versa. And it would always be give or take.
Or I'll pull the director card, or she'll pull the music director card.
So sometimes it is a competition, but you can still work through that.
Oh, absolutely. And then when it's over, we're ready to start working again, and I will never turn around to the cast early on. They know us now and they're used to it. They go on about their business and figure we'll be back to them when
Yeah.
we're ready. But we turn around and look at them like, okay, y'all ready to go? And they're like, oh, they're still traumatized. They didn't realize that we were moving on. Whereas now they know, and everybody can work through that. We did that one year during a production. We all have headsets. So
And you're discussing things over the headset?
I'm in the booth, the sound booth. He's on the floor. We had, our backstage crew all with headsets. And then we had poor Scott Compton leading the choir that year. Do you remember that?
Yeah, Scott's got his headset on.
Listening to y'all.
And Jerry's like, you need to do, I'm not doing that. Well, I'm telling you, you've got to do it now. I'm not doing it. It's not in the script, and we're not changing it on the last night. I already told you we're doing this. Heather? Jeremy? And literally, you could see Scott Compton leading the choir going,
what's going on?
Looking around
who am I
like,
supposed to listen to? And the backstage cast, they've already put us on mute. They know when we need them.
Mute us out.
They know.
You need a story about your lives like that. Like, that would be so cool to have a play about that. All the things in the background that are going wrong, and everybody's like, this is great, but you don't realize everybody's throwing things at each other and
This is
upset.
happening during a production.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes, during Joy to the World. Right?
Yeah.
We are not.
I would love to write, our story at some point, and I think I will. The closest I came was Marion Bright, and I wrote the character Kate after Heather. It was actually for her 40th birthday gift, and wrote that character all about kind of her and things. So there were a lot of like little hidden, like what we would call Easter eggs in that story that I thought was cool. This one, I pulled, I'm big on the Enneagram numbers, and so I pulled 3 really diverse personality, which happens to be 3 close friends. My mom, Cheryl, and Miriam Stanley.
Made those the 3 ladies.
And they're the 3 ladies who own the inn. And so you've got the one, character who's very much like, this is a business, we got to run it like a business, we got to make a profit, we got to do this, we are not leaving baby Jesus out of this, we're following all the rules. You got the one character who's sort of like, we're breaking all the rules, I'm going to go, cook some food, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do this. And then you got the other character who's kind of in the middle doing the costumes, and she's the pleaser and wants to make everybody happy, and she just sees the good in everything. So, oh, that's broken, that's wonderful, we'll fix it, and
It'll be
that
fine.
sort of became the essence of they're the storytellers, the leaders of this story.
That's cool. That's cool. Do you actually look at that Enneagram before you start writing, or you just they're in
Well,
your
no,
head?
but I have read a lot because from the Christian perspective, for sure,
Yeah.
not from the worldly. But Ian Cron, and I got to hear him speak several years ago, and he talked about how important it is to understand your Enneagram number, and then to be able to define other people's Enneagram numbers, so that when you're in ministry, you can work through the differences and through
yeah.
the goods and the bads with each other,
Without
and
taking
even
it personal.
Yeah, without taking it
Take it
personally. And
personally,
even because I understand my number and my flaws, when somebody says something to me, it's easier for me to not take it so personally. And so I do think that's cool.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Can you believe that? You guys didn't even get me warmed up yet. I was getting ready to go, but I appreciate you sharing so much. That was wonderful. I really wanted to hear more of that than the play, even though I'm excited about the play coming up this time.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I hope everyone will come out to the play. Listen, it's December 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and we're doing something different this year with our production. We're actually beginning Friday night at 7 p.m., but Saturday and Sunday night both are at 6 p.m. We bumped it up a little bit, so don't get confused on that. It's a free event. Invite some friends. Lots of Christmas music, a really great story. The play itself is really only about an hour and 5 minutes. It's the shortest thing we've done. And
Wow.
But Pastor Rob is preaching on Sunday the 5th a sermon to go with that. And I didn't mention this, but I wanted to say this too, is I went back and listened to Pastor Rob's sermon from 2016, and he and I met a couple of times, and I ended up with like 5 pages of notes that I tried to incorporate into the play of things that Pastor Rob has said. So I gave you some writer's credit on the script because I use a lot of your thoughts and
I'm
your
famous.
materials. So you're famous.
I don't
it's
need
really-
my name and lights.
It's really a fantastic idea from Pastor Rob, and I think both the play and the sermon are going to be really cool. So I would encourage you to plan to be at the play that weekend, to be at church on Sunday morning, December 5th, to hear Pastor Rob preach, and you can find out everything
that night
you need
then
to
is
know.
the play to the final
play,
night.
That'll be the final night as well. Yeah. And all the details are on our website, tbcnow.org. So we look forward to seeing you, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks for joining us this week on TBC Today. We want to connect with you, so make sure to visit our website, tbcnow.org, and subscribe, rate, and review the show in iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and be on the lookout for our next conversation.